Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you remember, this was the last problem we have did in last week. So I believe you all are able to do this problem. So this problem we did it in last week, and then we stopped our discussion after this problem. Now, so far, if you see what we have covered, we covered basically, about interest rate, how interest rates are determined, and then we have also seen what are the various application. Like when we talk about application, uh, we looked at application related to bond valuation. Then we have seen how we can use related to in stock valuation, and then we have seen in time value of money. And then certain problems we have seen. Now whenever we use these analysis, we use certain assumption about market. For example, we assume that keeping several conditions constant, we do certain kind of analysis, and within that one condition we keep, or one assumption we make about market efficiency. And whenever we do for some kind of analysis related to valuation, when you are going to read in subsequent semester, you will find role of your this interest rate is also very much used in fundamental analysis. And then about when we talk about market efficiency, up to large extent your technical analysis is used. So when we talk about common stock valuation, whatever we have seen so far, we have basically seen from discounting model or dividend discount model, if you remember. That technique we have used, and then we calculated value of stock value we have calculated, and then we discuss whether it is undervalue or overvalue. And if it is undervalue, you have different strategy. When you have overvalue, then different type of investment strategy we adopt. Now, when we talk about fundamental analysis, especially if you want to see where these analysis can be used, you can look at equity report, equity research report. So when you look at, let's say ICICI Direct, or when we look at Motilal Oswal, so these are basically, your brokerage firm, and these firm regularly, for various stock, they issue some kind of recommendation. And for recommendation, these fundamental analysis and technical analysis is used. So whenever fundamental analysis is used, basically it takes firm's fundamental information. When we saying fundamental information, basically we are referring to balance sheet. So most of the information related to firm is used from balance sheet. For example, when you do analysis, stock valuation analysis using free cash flow technique. Free cash flow technique, there you are going to use this from the balance sheet. And then based on that, using appropriate technique, we arrive at intrinsic value or fundamental value of particular stock. So when you have fundamental value, you can, again, the way we did comparison here, whether the stock is overvalue or undervalue, same way we do analysis here. So stock can be undervalued or can be overvalued, and based on that, you are going to give your recommendation in your equity report. Whereas when we talk about technical analysis, we are looking at short-term window. So here you can think of, because most of the information you have is on annual basis. So your fundamental value that you use and compare, you can have investment horizon of, let's say, a year. Whereas when we compare, we look at the how trend is going on using technical analysis. You can suggest or give recommendation to your client, or you can use that information for your own portfolio for shorter duration. So, and then the everything that function here in case of these two technique is very much depend upon type of market efficiency. And when we talk about fundamental analysis, there are two approach. So in fundamental analysis, you have three base. One is your macro environment. Then you have industry, and then you have a stock or your company, respective company. Because in fundamental analysis, you are going to do valuation for your company, right? But you cannot do valuation to your company unless you know what is the global demand and supply scenario, and within the industry how your specific firm is doing. So for this, we need to start with, we need to cover all three, different segment of, this fundamental analysis. So there are two approach. One approach, we call it top-down approach. So what top-down approach we are talking? Because in top-down approach, we start with macro environment. It means you look at what would be the global scenario, about demand for particular, product that your company is producing or service company is offering. And once you have clear idea about macro or global environment, then you look at what kind of scenario is there within industry. Because chances are there, for example, when we take about, your, manufacturing, especially auto manufacturing. In manufacturing, you have, auto manufacturing, you have various firms. You have, Tata Group or Tata Group. Then you have, let's say, Bajaj is also there. Then you have, Suzuki. So based on your industry, you have various competitors or specific kind of industry characteristic. So unless we know better this industry, you cannot do valuation. Unless you do valuation, you cannot decide the true value. And unless you are able to decide true value, you cannot take a investment decision. So that's why in top-down approach, we start with macro environment, then we look at industry specific characteristic, and then finally we look at company specific information. Because at the end, you are going to do valuation for this company, and that information you will be taking from the balance sheet of this firm. So this approach where you start with macro and end with your company, suggesting some kind of valuation, this technique we call it top down. Whereas bottom up approach is exactly opposite. You start with your company. You first analyze your company, then you look at the industry. Sorry. Then you look at your industry, and then finally you see the dimension of your macro environment. So these are two techniques, and most of the time you will find this top-down approach or EIC approach. EIC means economy, I means industry, and C stands for company. So this kind of approach, you see. So this is one technique where you can do analysis. And when we talk about firm specific analysis, generally you will find two major approaches. First approach, we call it using valuation technique. Basically, we use ratios, and then using ratio we arrive at firm specific valuation. Another technique is valuation using the dividend information or flow information, or using free cash flow. So these are the two techniques by which we can do that. And remember, in your analysis, so far we have only covered this, but we should know what other techniques exist. So that's why these techniques can be used. And here, free cash flow, when we are talking, this is the free cash flow for firm. So free cash flow to firm or company, and this is free cash flow for equity. So right now we are not going to discuss about these two techniques, but we should know that these techniques do exist when we talk about fundamental analysis. And now coming to technical analysis, again, there are certain assumptions whenever we do technical analysis, and these assumptions are majorly depend on market efficiency. So first assumption, if you see, price discounts everything. So what we are referring from this statement, that we say that whenever we observe price of particular stock, it takes care of all the available information. So it means if I'm looking at the price at point T, it is basically function of all the information available at given point of time. So means there is no delay. There is no delay in terms of this information adjustment in stock price. So this is it means here we are directly referring to market efficiency. And second assumption we make, assume that market is totally efficient or strongly efficient. So technical analysis will still work because there is some kind of trend. Because if there is no trend, then whatever best technique you use in technical analysis, you cannot do that. And remember, in technical analysis, what we are referring, we are talking about various chart. We are looking at moving average. If you certain you can say oscillators. There are various measures. So we are not going to discuss, but you have simple moving average, simple moving average, simple moving average, SMA. Then you have exponential moving average. So there are various oscillator, and then you have various charts. So these are the technique. Why we use these techniques? So that we can capture any anomaly or any deviation. And if you are able to capture based on projected trend in coming short time, you can take a investment decision, or you can take a decision of buying or selling certain assets. And then the most important thing about technical analysis is overall trend, because if we know that price movement will have some kind of trend, then overall, what trend do you see? Whether you observe that in coming few months, market will have upward slope, or it may have downward slope. And based on these, these kind of projected trend, you can suggest to your client. And of course, when we talk about market efficiency, we have three kind of market efficiency. One is weak form, semi-strong, and strong form. And most of, even any exchange you pick, you will find all these exchanges are, working or operating at semi-strong form. And here, the main reason why how we are classifying weak, semi-strong, and strong form is how quickly information available at any given point of time is being reflected in stock price. So even we are seeing a weak form of market efficiency, it means there is some kind of delay when information is reflecting in stock price. Semi-strong form means, there is delay is very less. And when we talk about a strong form of market efficiency, it means all the price at given point of time is reflecting all the information available related to that particular stock. Information could be private, information could be public, or information could be insider. So that's why a strong form of market efficiency is desirable, but it won't, we won't be able to achieve 100% of market efficiency. Means that is the practical thing. Of course, we can be closer to that, but it is difficult to achieve 100%. And there is risk as well, because in a market we trade or two trader interact for buying and selling activity because they see there is some kind of price inefficiency. It means there is some kind of a delay in terms of information adjustment in stock price. Because if we assume that market is, we are operating in some kind of exchange where exchange is very efficient, it means at given point of time t is equal to 0, your price of particular stock is reflecting all the information. It means if this is the case and all the investor, or let's say investor who are trading in this stock, they know, because market is efficient, they know at this point of time that price of this stock should be this. So there is no reason that trading will take place. Why? Because if this person who wants to sell, let's say I4 want to sell this stock at price which is higher than this ideal price, let's say delta, he won't be able to find it any buyer. Reason because all the investors who are available in the market, they know that true value or price of this stock should be PABC. But if anybody is charging high, no one will buy. It means the liquidity in case of a strong market efficiency, the main challenge would be the liquidity. And if liquidity is not there, then trading is going to hamper. If trading is going to hamper, it means whatever you do, you cannot go for price discovery process. Price discovery process means how price is going to evolve, and how it will evolve when buying and selling activities are taking place. So even if you look at Anant Madhavan's paper in 2000 on in market microstructure, I believe the title is Market Microstructure. He has specifically said that some kind of market inefficiency is desirable, because if market is fully efficient, chances are very likely that trader may not come forward and trade because there is no advantage to buy or sell any particular asset in the market. So it so whatever we have discussed, you see, in terms of market efficiency, one way we want to achieve a strong form of market efficiency, but at the same time, chances are very likely that when you achieve a strong form of market efficiency, your overall trading practices may be affected. So with this, I think we will close our this module, and I have kept few questions so that once you are revising, I'll be upload. I believe I have uploaded these slides, so when you are revising, you will be able to see whether you can solve these problem or not. So, do you have any question, students? Yeah, student, do you have any question? Otherwise, we will start another module. Fine, so I assume there are no questions, so we'll continue our discussion on another topic. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so we will start another topic. Central bank role. Basically, when we are calling central bank, we are referring to RBI, because the role of central bank is very very critical. Even whether market is normal or market is abnormal. So whether any investment activities are taking place or not taking place, but functioning of central bank in any country. In India, we have RBI. In US, Federal Reserve is there. So role is very critical, and that's why the first another topic in terms of financial institution or in terms of regulatory institution, we are going to start with RBI or central bank. So can anybody tell what are the functionality, major function that RBI performs? Yeah, students.
Sir, it provides guidelines to the bank regarding some interest rate charge.
What kind of guidelines related to interest rates? Can you at least tell something more?
Sir, like how much charge should be for home loan, personal loan,
Okay.
education loan?
Fine. Okay, so basically you are saying that various interest rates are going to be determined by central bank, right? If I'm reframing your point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other functionality? Let's say what we will do, we will discuss functionality in terms of market. First market is related to banks, because RBI is, or central bank is basically the main bank. Main bank means main regulatory bank within the banking system. So we will look at how, what are the functionality of RBI or central bank is when we talk about banking system or banks. Then we talk about functionality related to market. When we are seeing market, we will talk about broadly related to stock market. And then let's say we will talk about, currency market. And then we will, see what kind of functionalities are there for RBI when we talk about government. and then we will have others. So now, this broadly, if you look at this, this is related to, banks and market. So now, can anybody tell other functionality of central bank? So you have basically these, four different verticals. So within that vertical, you try to think about what are the roles that RBI performs, and whether that role belongs to banking system, market, government, or it is related to something else. Yeah, other students? Yeah.
So
Anyone?
like they take care of banks of government, like bank. They are basically bankers to government.
Okay. Can you suggest how? Yeah. Go ahead. Why you said so?
Like it take cares of banking needs of government, like which includes like maintaining and operating deposit accounts of government, collecting receipts of funds and all.
Mhm. And have you observed anything recently, any activity that RBI has performed on behalf of government? Hello? Yeah, others?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other student?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it also provides the currency. It is
Mhm.
used to print. RBI prints the currency, and it also decides how much is to be printed.
Okay. On what basis generally currency is printed? Do you have any idea?
Sir, I'm not very sure about that.
Okay. Yeah. Any other functionality? Because once we have at least some idea, then it becomes very easy to sail through other slides that I have prepared, because this still most of the point that we will be covering are not reflecting here. Yeah, any other points? Can anybody tell how RBI's guideline will impact corporate investment? Are you able to see that channel? Anyone? Yeah, students. Fine. So I believe you have some idea. At least as a regulatory body, RBI regularly publish various interest rates. So not only one, there are several interest rates we will discuss in this module. And then bankers to the government. Why government? Because government is also some kind of borrower, and many times government borrow money, and then central bank perform some critical role and on behalf of government. So we will see how it happens, and of course as a central bank, role of RBI, or central bank, is very critical whenever we talk about currency supply. Now, in general, we can determine, or we can define role of central bank as a regulatory body in determining, implementing, and controlling the monetary policy. Because all these functionality that we will talk about, you can easily classify into these three terms. One term, RBI determines, basically this is the guideline part. If you remember first point, one of student he has highlighted, means preparing the guideline, how banks or other institutions going to perform. At the same time, it is the role of central bank to see that every banks or institutions operating within the boundary, within the country, are following it. For example, there are like, CRR, SLR, and other rates. So it means if any bank is there, they have to follow this. If they are not following, it means central bank can send them a message of violating the guidelines. And monetary policy, because if you remember, central bank's role is is to prepare and control monetary policy. And when we talk about government's role is about the fiscal policy. So when we talk about government looks at the fiscal policy. So this is this is role of government, especially finance ministry. And when we talk about monetary policy, central bank, or in India we have RBI. Their role is about what should be the monetary policy. So these are the main role of RBI. So these are broad classification, how it is determined, how it is done. So we will see, and we will also see a structure that we have in India, because if you look at your textbook on financial institution and market, Cornet book. So this book basically talks about central bank in US. So if you look at federal bank functionality, it will tell you. And that's why, and in our course, what I have done, because I assume that you can easily read, more or less functionalities are changed, but structure is different. Because in India, we have kind of centralized bank, whereas in US, of course, Federal Reserve is there, but there is some kind of decentralization. Otherwise, more or less, you will find same kind of guidelines are there. Structure, of course, is different, but guidelines are same. So we will see those differences. So now, what are the core objectives? Whenever in 1935, when RBI was established in India, certain objectives were set. The first objective was economic growth in line with the potential to expand. Thrust should be given on economic growth. Second objective is a high level of employment. Because if employment is not done, then you will have more pressure on economy, and then many times central bank will have to follow very conservative monetary policy. Stable prices, it is basically, remember, whenever we are talking about stable prices, somewhere it is directing to inflation. And when inflation is there, it will have impact on goods, physical goods, and also it will have impact on financial assets. It means inflation is, or unstable prices are not only going to impact prices of goods, but it will impact basically all type of assets that we see, whether it's financial asset or it is non-financial assets. And then another objective is moderate long-term investment. Remember, when we talk about long-term investment, you should be able to recollect term structure. And this term we have used, or this term we have discussed in, previous module, where we, talk about various factors that determines interest rate and then how it is calculated. So these are the four major, objectives that central banks perform. And if you look at the RBI, preamble, so it is very clearly mentioned to regulate the issue of banknote and keeping the reserve with a view to securing monetary stability in India and to operate to the currency and the credit system of country to its advantage. So basically, these are the preset, or you can call that basic objective that were set when RBI was established. So already, so from our discussion, we can easily identify major functionality. First functionality is related to monetary policy. Second functionality is supervising and regulating various institutions. So, implementing term that we have used is related to this. Maintaining the stability of financial system. It is related to economy. And then providing payment to various financial services to government, because RBI, as one of you said, that RBI is banker to the government. So various payment to government, public, your financial institution, and foreign official institution. So these are roles, major functions RBI performs. And this is the structure we have. So in US, this structure is different. In India, we have this type of structure. So you have, central board of director, and then you have, RBI governor, and then you have four different, deputy governors. And basically from these, generally you will find governor is identified, unless government considers someone who is expert from other domain to to be governor of RBI. So this is the basic structure. And as of now, there are 31 regional offices, RBI regional offices. So you can easily see in every state, more or less a regional office is there, RBI regional office. And if you look at the detailed, functionality, and these functionality as per the RBI, these are the detailed functionality: financial supervision, regulatory and supervising the financial system, as a regulator for payment and settlement, banker and debt manager to government, managing foreign exchange, issue of currency. Bankers bank means because RBI is the core bank or central bank for entire banking system, and that's why RBI is also called as bankers bank. Regulator for the banking system, and of course, related to currency. Development role related to economic activity. And recently you must have heard news that RBI has come up with a special package to boost Indian economy. So that is basically coming from this role of RBI. And then other related functions, custodian to foreign exchange, and then through RBI, all the selling and buying of government security takes place. So basically, central bank is central security depository for government security. So these are detailed functions. And When we talk about, because RBI is involved in, monetary policy. So every April month, you must have heard that RBI announced the monetary policy, and it is followed for next, 1 year. And within that, you will find, whatever, government security purchase targets are there, or any specific kind of activity, it will be highlighted in this April month announcement. And also every, in also quarterly basis in July, October, and January also, RBI, do some kind of reviews based on their monetary policy initially planned. And if required, certain changes are made. And also, in April and then second quarter review, certain kind of specific, revision is done. So within that, if you look at the, review report, part A provides, information about macroeconomic and monetary development. And accordingly, monetary policy is set and various, tools are used. Whereas when we talk about part B of monetary policy, that report issued by RBI provides action, whatever action plan is taken in the past. So it means you can easily see, what is planned and how, earlier planned exercise, impacted, on financial stability, financial market, interest rate, and various other dimensions for which RBI or central bank is responsible. So basically, whatever we are talking about here is only related to RBI. Federal bank may have, slightly different type of approach. And all these information, because, these information will keep on changing. So this is the latest information. And that's why if you are referring any, source which is older, you may not find information. So that's why I have put, these specific information, so that at least for, this semester, you will be updated with the current existing, practice used by RBI. And when we talk about, monetary policy framework, so so what exactly it refers to? So basically, monetary policy refers to use of monetary instrument under the control of central bank. And what are the instruments? If you remember, there are, currency, interest rate, because interest rate also adjusted. Then RBI also, buy and sell government security. And then various, guidelines. But guidelines basically part of all three. So these are the major instruments RBI can use. And within the rate, we will see there are n number of rates. So using all these instruments, RBI's instrument, control of RBI to influence interest rate, money supply, and the availability of credit, with the view to achieve the objective of the policy. Objective we have already covered. Implementation, then providing monetary policy, then about the guidelines. So with using that monetary policy, try to achieve the core objective, which is set by the RBI or central bank, using the various tools. And here, if you look at the preamble of of RBI, you can easily find all these statements which highlight the role of RBI in monetary policy. So these are the instruments. When we talk about rate, it includes repo, reverse repo rate, marginal standing facility under the liquidity. We will talk about this liquidity adjustment facility. Bank rates, CRR, then open market operation. Basically, when we talk about open market operation, we are talking about buying and selling of government security. And then there are, various market stabilizing mechanism, especially, buying more security or buying a specific kind of security under the specific plan. So there are, we can classify these instruments into category of direct and indirect. So when we talk about direct instrument, we have CRR and SLR. Can anybody explain what is CRR and SLR? Yes, students. Hello? Yeah. Students, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what is cash reserve ratio when we talk about a bank? Anyone?
Sir, it is a ratio of how much money the bank has lent and how much it has saved in its accounts.
So what does it mean? Saved and means you are talking about bank, overall bank
deposits. Deposits.
No. Anybody else? Yeah. What is CRR? Cash reserve ratio.
Sir, it's the amount of cash that a bank needs to keep and that cannot be used for any financial activity, a certain amount of their money.
And this reserve is kept with the RBI so that this is a mechanism by which RBI can keep a control on banks' credit. Because if, let's say, if bank having total deposit of 1 crore, and if these conditions like so this is CRR and SLR is statutory liquidity ratio. So if government is not keeping, so here certain amount is going to be kept as cash reserve by the bank, so that it can be there will be some kind of buffer with the bank. And same way about all these instruments. And in 1990s, if you look, if you refer this open market purchase, RBI earlier, RBI was relying more on direct measure. But if you remember this, we had liberalization around 1991. So after that, it was found that only controlling the interest rate by having direct measure may not be appropriate. So indirect measures like open market operation were introduced. So remember, when government securities are buying and going to be sold, so it will have impact on interest rate. How? Through change in the yield. If you remember, in our discussion, previous discussion, we have discussed. So in 1990s, this open market operation in India was introduced. It was introduced as indirect instrument or indirect measure. So these two are direct measure, where whenever bank is operating, bank has to follow this. Whereas in the market, when RBI wants to control various interest rate, open market operation are performed. And then in 2000, what RBI has done, RBI has introduced liquidity, LAF, liquidity adjustment facility. And this facility role is related to the banking system. Banking, Indian banking system. Because many times it happens that, you know, when bank is, you know, involved in lending and depositing, role, bank maybe fall short on these, because there are, you know, preset guidelines by RBI that CRR and SLR should be. If you know, a bank is, let's say, if you have n number of bank, let's say you have entire banking system, here you have RBI, and we can, you know, think about, you know, various banks operating. And chances are very, you know, likely that because of certain activity on a given day, bank one is falling short on this. Then there should be some kind of mechanism so that it cannot be, you know, bank can, you know, come back, or bank is able to maintain whatever set guidelines are there. So liquidity adjustment facility was introduced to manage the liquidity within the banking system. And how it is done, basically through, you know, repo and reverse repo rate. And also in 2004, if you look at, another facility was introduced, is known as, you know, market stabilization scheme, where buying and selling of short-term security and long-term securities are done. So what will happen? By buying and selling of these security, the yield on short-term and long-term can be controlled, or can be, you know, manual. So with this, what happens? Basically, the interest rate is going to be, you know, controlled within the, you know, expected or projected range. And if that can be achieved, then it becomes easy to sail, to, you know, take economy to the proper direction. So we will talk about, you know, liquidity adjustment facility and various rates tomorrow. So we will stop our discussion here, and if you have any question, and all these terms related here, related to various interest rate, we will be, you know, discussing in detail tomorrow. And there are, you know, various rates. So you may maybe, you know, aware of bank rate or interest rate, but there are various rates. So all these discussion we will keep for tomorrow, and if you have any question, we can take it. Any question? Fine. So we are concluding today's session, and we will meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you, sir.